Today, we will discuss about Donald Trump indictment fallout. So before we move any further, make sure to subscribe to our channel. Let's dive in. Donald Trump said on Thursday that he has been indicted for handling secret documents improperly at his Florida estate. This is a significant step that makes him the first former president in American history to be charged with a crime by the federal government he formerly presided over. The indictment has unquestionably serious legal repercussions, including the potential for incarceration if he is found guilty. However, it also has significant political ramifications. It may upset a Republican primary that Trump had been leading and put GOP supporters and party leaders to the test once more by asking them to support a man who has already been indicted twice and may be hit with additional accusations. And it prepares the ground for a spectacular trial that will revolve on allegations that a man who was previously trusted with protecting the country's most carefully guarded secrets knowingly and illegally hoarded critical national security material. The indictment was not immediately made public by the Justice Department. However, 7 criminal counts were listed in the indictment, according to 2 people with knowledge of the matter who were not permitted to speak publicly about it. One of them claimed that just before Trump revealed on his Truth Social platform that he had been indicted, prosecutors contacted his attorneys. 20 minutes after making the announcement, Trump started raising money for his 2024 presidential bid. In a video, he proclaimed his innocence and reiterated his usual claim that the probe is a witch hunt. In Miami, where a grand jury had begun convening just this week to hear testimony, he stated that he intended to appear in court on Tuesday in the afternoon. Trump is now in even more lethal danger as a result of the case. He has already been charged in New York and is already the subject of other investigations in Atlanta and Washington, D.C., but among the numerous inquiries he faces, legal professionals and Trump's own advisors have long viewed the Mar-a-Lago investigation as the most dangerous threat and the one most likely to result in criminal charges. Since Trump's attorneys were informed that he was the subject of the investigation, campaign staffers had been preparing for the consequences, anticipating that it was only a matter of time until charges were filed. James Trusty, an attorney for Trump, claimed during an appearance on CNN on Thursday night that accusations of deliberate retention of national defense information, a violation under the Espionage Act, which regulates the management of government secrets, are included in the indictment. This act also prohibits obstruction, false statements, and conspiracy. The conviction marks a significant turning point for the Justice Department, which had long been looking into Trump both as president and as a regular person, but had never before charged him with a crime. The most significant investigation was a previous special counsel examination into connections between his 2016 campaign and Russia. But prosecutors in that investigation cited Justice Department policy against indicting a president who is in office. But as soon as he left government, he was no longer protected. Last November, Attorney General Merrick Garland appointed Jack Smith, a war crimes prosecutor with a reputation for being aggressive and hard-charging, to head both the documents investigation and a separate investigation into attempts to rig the 2020 election. Garland is a soft-spoken former federal judge who has long maintained that no one should be regarded as above the law. The indictment is the result of a lengthy investigation into whether Trump violated the law by keeping hundreds of documents marked as confidential at his Mar-a-Lago estate in Palm Beach, and whether he tried to thwart efforts by the government to retrieve the materials. According to prosecutors, Trump brought around 300 secret documents to Mar-a-Lago after leaving the White House, including about 100 that the FBI collected during a search of the residence in August of last year, underscoring the seriousness of the Justice Department's inquiry. When he left the White House, Trump insisted on keeping the secret records, and he also claimed, without any backing, that he had declassified them. Federal investigators concluded they had probable cause that several crimes had been committed, including the retention of information related to national defense, the destruction of government data, and obstruction, according to court filings that were made public last year. Since then, the Justice Department has gathered more proof and obtained grand jury testimony from Trump's associates, including his legal counsel. The laws governing the handling of classified records and obstruction are crimes, which if found guilty might result in years behind bars. Given that his first indictment resulted in millions of dollars in donations from furious fans without affecting his standing in the polls, it is still unclear how much harm it will cause to Trump. Whatever happens, though, the indictment and subsequent legal battle will thrust Trump back into the public eye and divert attention from the other contenders who are attempting to gain ground in the race. Trump's primary rival in Florida, Gov. Ron DeSantis, criticized the indictment on Twitter, calling it an example of the weaponization of federal law enforcement. The former president has long tried to utilize his legal issues for political gain, claiming on social media and in public that Democratic prosecutors are behind the cases because they want to harm his 2024 re-election bid. He is certain to use that strategy once more, renewing his long-standing allegations that the Justice Department, which looked into whether his 2016 campaign collaborated with Russia while he was president, is being used against him in some way. Trump's legal issues go beyond the New York indictment and the case involving the sensitive documents. Separately, Smith is looking into Trump's and his associates' attempts to rig the 2020 presidential election. Additionally, the Fulton County District Attorney in Georgia is looking into Trump for alleged attempts to rig the state's 2020 election. Weeks prior, there were increasing indications that an indictment was imminent, including a meeting on Monday between Trump's attorneys and Justice Department representatives. The most convincing indication, yet, that an indictment was imminent was the recent notification to his attorneys that he was the subject of the inquiry. Although the grand jury had been convening in Washington for months and the majority of the investigation had been conducted there, it has just come to light that prosecutors were also presenting their case to a panel in Florida, the location of many of the alleged acts of obstruction that the prosecution had been looking into. According to the Justice Department, Trump persistently rejected the National Archives and Records Administration's attempts to recover the papers. Trump's representatives finally returned 15 boxes of records in January 2022 after exchanging them for months, including 184 documents that, according to officials, had classified marks on them. In May 2022, a subpoena was issued by FBI and Justice Department investigators for any secret records that Trump still had. However, after a Trump attorney produced 3 dozen records and claimed that a thorough search of the property had been conducted, authorities began to fear that many more documents might still be present. Until last August, when FBI investigators executed a search order at Mar-a-Lago and confiscated 33 boxes containing classified materials, including top-secret documents hidden in a storage closet and desk drawer and mixed with personal items. The inquiry had been quietly simmering for months. According to the Justice Department, certain records were so sensitive that investigators needed higher security clearances to review them. The finding of documents with classified markings in the Delaware home and former Washington office of President Joe Biden, as well as in the Indiana home of former Vice President Mike Pence, had appeared to complicate the probe against Trump politically, if not legally. Pence was just advised by the Justice Department that he would not be prosecuted, but Biden's handling of confidential documents is still under investigation by a second special counsel. However, there are significant contrasts between Biden and Pence's handling of materials and Trump's, notably the fact that both men's representatives claim the records were freely given over to investigators as soon as they were discovered. In contrast, the focus of the investigation immediately shifted to whether Trump, who for 4 years as president showed contempt for the FBI and Justice Department, had attempted to obstruct the investigation by withholding some materials. Share your opinions with us in the comments, and if you're new to our channel, then subscribe before leaving. See you in the next video.